Welcome to Blamestorming. Blamestorming. In a post-truth world, there's plenty of blame to go around. 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 Join Dave Sirus and Maryssa Smith as they blamestorm about today's hot topics.
Hey, welcome to Blamestorm, and I'm your host, Dave Cyrus. The other host with me, as always, is Maryssa Smith.
I am here.
And we have two guests today. We have Elon Altman. Say hello, Elon.
How you guys doing?
And a very drunk Beth Maria. How are you?
You know, semi-sober.
No, you're not.
She's not drunk. I've seen Beth drunk. This is not drunk Beth at all.
This is the
I'm not a cop.
This is Wednesday.
Look, I'm not a cop. You don't have to tell me how drunk you usually get compared to this.
No, Beth and I have hung out and had some rough nights together, and neither one of us is anywhere near drunk Beth or drunk Maryssa.
But we will be after this
The
podcast.
fact that you've been substantially drunker doesn't make you sober now.
Wow.
Anyway,
it
Wow.
doesn't.
This beer is
Maybe
6.7% alcohol.
these are
Wow.
these beers are
Comparative
actually
theory.
kind of
wow.
high up there. And
You don't even drink beer.
yeah, that has nothing to do with what we're talking about. I'm not the one drinking. I'm not the one accused of being drunk. It's okay. I want people to enjoy themselves.
Wow.
Yeah.
This
See,
is
everyone?
the last show
You
of the
see
year,
everybody?
you guys.
Can you tell as much as I can now? Anyway,
Wow.
we were talking about the theme, why it's British. Marissa actually hired that person.
The theme song?
Hired that guy Nigel to
His
tape.
name is not Nigel. We do not know his name. Dave has decided
you
his
heard
name is Nigel.
You heard his voice.
His penis.
I feel like he's being a little bit
I don't
racist with
know.
that because
Definitely
he thinks all
racist.
black. I
Definitely
feel like you
racist.
think all black English people are named Nigel.
Was
I
that a
think
black
that's-
English guy's voice?
Wow, I didn't hear black English. What I did
He
hear,
always
I actually,
comments on it.
No, I specifically, what I would say is if that's true and you're connecting it to black origin English, then I would say it is
He
racist
is.
because what I heard when I heard that triggering accent was a pink penis, which, by the way, I've heard of but have never seen.
All right, yeah.
Now, when you mean in real life or like
In real
pictures?
life. In real life, I've never seen it.
Who has pink?
Apparently, very, very white people.
Oh, like ginger guys, like redhead
I
guys.
don't know.
No,
I
gingers
don't know.
don't necessarily have pink penises.
It's just very white. It's like Irish, Swedish, I guess, English descent.
Swedes.
And I guess the white people that I have been with tend to be from the Mediterranean, more immigrant.
Mediterranean.
Yeah.
I just assume that when you have sex, you always blindfold yourself, so you've never seen a pink penis.
What kind of penis you got on you, Elon?
I'd say it's pinkish in hue. I think it's
really?
similar to skin tone.
This is what I always
are
imagined,
pinkish.
and then
Yeah.
I was brought into a space where I was like, oh, "What?" I just always thought it was whatever is on your arm plus 3 shades darker into darkness, into brownness on the penis, and that's just the only penises I've ever seen. It's just like whatever your skin is plus browner for the dick, and the idea that there are magenta penises out there it takes over my brain. I never heard of it.
I
Elon
think
looks
they're
like
more
his
rose-colored.
You look like your penis is a CPA.
Yeah. Give me that W-9.
I've seen albino penises, and they're not darker than their arm.
Well,
Well,
that's an
that's-
exception.
Those people have a disease. Let's not.
Well, it's not a disease, but it is an exception to
It's not?
melanin. Yeah, it's just about
Albinoism
melanin.
isn't like a
No,
an ailment?
albinism.
it's not a disease.
I was attacked by an albino in high school.
Wow,
happened?
what
What'd you
is
do?
that? Is it a dog? Why are you saying a albino?
I said "Anne" because I know how to speak English.
Thank you. Now let me just make
That is the moral distinction we're making here. The difference between a and
I don't know what
I
that
told you
not
she
the
was drunk.
distinction.
Now, Elon.
What does that group call themselves?
Don't
I don't know.
discredit me.
An
Don't you
albino
dare
man.
discredit me, dude.
Well, you're getting hung up on his correct grammar.
I'm getting hung up on the fact that I was saying, do you call someone an albino rather than a
talking-
person who's albino?
Because it
That's
sounds
don't
like
have
the
that.
blacks versus African American.
It's like how you could say a person of color. I could say a person of no color.
Yes,
Sure,
exactly.
you could
Okay.
say that.
Yeah, that's
but
what you-
but okay, so the
I'm sorry.
language.
I'm assuming you were the only person less popular than the albino kid in high school. So go on with the story.
Okay, so we were in we were taking sophomore English was mythology, so we read a lot about Greek mythology, and there was this like final project where we were gonna all like pick a character and do some kind of act or something, and our teacher sent around a sign-up sheet of like who each one wanted to be, and this one kid who I knew from junior high. So we had like a rapport as like a history, whatever. I thought it'd be funny to like write his name down for him. And I wrote Athena, which is a female character. Ha ha ha. That's my joke.
Yeah.
Anyway, he got really pissed when the sign-up sheet got to him. He saw that. He said, "Who did this?" After class, he started strangling me. He was much larger than me. He took like karate and stuff. And
Right.
I had like marks on my. It was like a serious fight.
Let me back up, though.
I'm sorry. What
Was
does
he
this have to
Frankenstein?
do with what we're
He was
saying?
albino. That's all it has to do
That's
with.
all it has
Right.
to
We should know what they're capable of. Now, you said he took karate, but he was
Wow.
strangling you. Was he Frankenstein
He
strangling
didn't
you like
use.
this?
Yeah, he didn't use any like actual karate moves because I'm so weak. It was very easy for him to just grab and
I gotta
squeeze.
say,
I think
his sensei would
somebody,
be very-
even with professional martial arts training, would just cast that aside and just use regular people strangling to strangle.
Right? Yeah.
you.
Why would you go? You don't have to go fancy when you can just go
like he
basic.
could have been a martial artist, and I feel like he would have just chosen to be
Well, then,
chill
Right.
that's
about it.
two ways his sensei would have been very disappointed in him.
Well, martial arts is like a self-defense thing, right? So if I'd come at him, he could go hi-ya and like stop me. But I was
Right.
just a person,
Right.
and he attacked me
Classical hi-ya.
and tried to kill me. The teacher
But
separated
he felt
us.
like you emotionally attacked him.
Yeah, and I feel bad about that.
You misgendered.
But as like this, I was always like the really small kid. I had to like be the class clown once in a while and be like,
Right,
"Oh, this will be
right,
funny,
right.
ha ha ha." And it was
like a power
he was the
move.
target because I knew him. That was so I
It was
feel
like
bad
maybe
about
I
that.
can get away with it because it's like within my.
well, you thought he's an albino.
Yeah, you
so
thought
It
the
had,
hierarchy
it had nothing
was
to do
like-
with that. It was just
I
that
can get away with this because he's different.
I could get away with it because I knew him already. Whereas if I picked someone else in the class I didn't really know, they'd be like, "Yo, what the fuck?"
Now, let me ask an honest
Right,
question.
right.
Yeah.
Less
Were you
confrontational.
friends with him because you were the kind of kid who'd be friends with like the albino?
I was not friends with him
And-
before that. I just knew him. We
Wait,
went to the same junior high.
Wait.
I
I
was
just
that
picture
kid.
you
Then
with-
why are you crediting knowing him?
I just
I
picture
knew
you
him.
with-
We had enough of a history where it was
Are
like,
you
you
saying
know,
that you were friends with no one, but you just knew
no,
one
I was
person?
I was like, you know how I do.
I just really picture you friends with like the kid in the wheelchair, the albino, and the Russian
I
kid who
was
doesn't
that
speak English.
kid. I was the
Yeah.
kid
I'm
that was
sorry.
friends with the Misfit Toys.
You grew up in New York, right?
Yeah.
So what school is this?
Oh, Stuyvesant High School.
Yeah, I heard of
Ooh.
it. Heard of it. Actually, I went to their prom when I was 24.
Oh yeah, that's creepy.
Ram in the cradle.
Were you the chaperone?
I like
or what?
it.
My best friend's little brother, who was significantly younger than him, who I always kind of like was friends with, mentored.
Yeah.
Sexually.
Sexually mentored. Messaged me and asked me to be his date to the prom in whatever.
And then she touches Peony.
And then I touched his penis.
Did
No,
you?
but what I said to him, my reply was, "Hey, I love you. I've known him his whole life since he was a baby. But I would like you to try at least 3 more dates and fail before I say yes."
Wow.
Oh yeah, so he pretended to ask 3 girls out and then went back to
And
you.
then came back to me with this pretending thing. And then I was like, "Hey." And I dressed up in an old bridesmaid. I was one of my bridesmaid outfits. And I didn't do my hair. And I looked as young as possible. And then I thought, because I was already over 21, that would be cool points. So I was got in this limo with these kids. And I was like, "Hey kids, like I brought like a little handle, like
Yeah.
not a handle, like whatever you call the little thing." It
Yeah.
was like in my purse. And I was like,
you know what it's called.
and
You brought a flask
I
to
brought
the
a flask.
prom.
I brought a
You
flask.
have one tonight.
And I was just like, "Hey guys,"
Yeah.
and then I was like, "And whatever you guys want." And he was so embarrassed because he was like, "Don't tell anyone that you're older than me." 'Cause I don't
Oh,
want
this
them
kid's
to,
an idiot.
I don't
This-
want them
Yeah.
to know that
By the
I
way,
brought a fake date.
That explains why he had to settle for you. The fact that he didn't realize what an advantage it was that he had to settle for like his friend, his
And let me
brother's
just tell you
friend.
something, and Elon can speak to it. In Stuyvesant, if the listeners don't understand, is the only public school that's like the Harvard of public schools.
Right.
And so he was the nerd
Of the nerds.
in Stuyvesant.
so you were like a real coup because like that's a hot date. You were, 24-year-old
I played this
you.
all the way up. I mean, I was already a stand-up comedian at that point.
Yeah.
I like tried to play it down. I was as cute as I am, and I did a little dancing and made him like the center and made like other people dance around him.
Right.
Yeah, I rocked.
Was it at the Waldorf?
No, it was I don't know. It was at one of those.
One of the
fancy-
yeah.
My prom date just danced like a stripper, so that was weird.
Was she a stripper?
Not at the time.
Later.
couple years later, though,
My
she fulfilled her
prom,
destiny.
my prom date was 22 and was a birthday present. Because, like my friends were like, oh, like, what do you want for your...
Stripper?
No, he wasn't a stripper. But, like, my friends were like, what do you want for your birthday? And I'm like, I really just want a prom date. So then they're just like, oh, Friday night, come out to the pool hall because that's how we do it in Yonkers. So like,
Y.O.
Y.O. So like I go to the pool hall and then she's like, all right, pick a date. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And then she's like, all right, so I told my boyfriend that you needed a date and I needed to give you a birthday present. So he called all his boys out and told them all that you need a date.
Was she drunk when she said this?
No.
Okay.
Possibly. Hi. So then she's just like, so they all came out, everybody that's like, all right, we're going to a prom. So everybody here can be your date. And I'm just, and it was just like literally the only
it's
girls.
like The Bachelorette with no cameras.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow,
it was like
that's so special.
And so like I went there, and
Let's
so like
call her. I want her number, her address, just to thank her. Unlike the other guys.
She voted for Trump, so fuck her.
Oh fuck! I want her number and I want her fucking address.
I don't talk to her anymore. But like, so like I literally talked to everybody, and the guy that I picked was the one that was just like, I didn't go to my prom, and now that I'm older, I regret it, and I really want to
So
have
you
like
gave
a whole
him a gift.
yeah.
You gave
And
him
then
a
he
little
broke
gift.
up with me on prom night. But that's another story entirely.
Yeah, he sounds like a journey.
He sounds like he's from Yonkers.
Yeah, because
But now I have a
We can talk
a
about some
little-
news.
Yeah,
let's talk about the
exactly.
news. I
Why
do-
don't you
well,
pivot, Dave?
I
I
do-
was going to pivot, but you
Well, we had been
steal
talking
my
about,
thunder.
we'd been talking about Europe before in Italy, and I actually did want to talk about a little bit about the austerity stuff in France. How there's all these riots, there's the demonstrations, and the thing I wanted to talk about was the idea that like I don't want to fall into this trap where liberals think that liberalism is believing that no matter where you are or what your government is, you're not socialist enough. Because France is a place that already has a fairly socialist democracy. They're a place that already has fairly high taxes. They're a place that already has a lot of the protections that we demand in this country, the liberals do. So I don't, and having read about what's going on in France, I don't know if I'm convinced that this is a measure of a government not being left enough.
So I
is that what they're saying though?
Well,
that doesn't sound like what they're saying.
Well, what they're saying is that they
the
want to
money is not allocated properly.
Well, they're saying that they think that the rich are not being taxed enough. So that is clearly a liberal idea. But the thing is, the tax they're talking about, are you guys familiar with the tax that they're referring to that they want to bring back in
Tell
France?
us.
Well, it's a wealth tax that Macron ended in 2017. Macron, president of France, liberal, but a mainstream liberal that people hate.
he's a cub.
That the people
Macron.
the people who are protesting
Yes,
are
cubs.
either far right or far left, but they're mostly not Macron's fans. They're not the people who voted for him. So they're demanding he resign, even though the majority that voted for him are not the ones demanding that, which is a little weird. It's almost like a mob mentality, saying even though we're a minority, we're loud and angry, so we want to change.
But
who's
I
in charge
mean,
of the
wouldn't that
government.
be kind of like if like all people that voted for Hillary were starting to protest against Trump and say that, like we voted for Hillary, but
Right,
you're the president.
It would not be a legitimate reason to say we demand you resign. Because if you're saying we didn't vote for you, but more people did, that's not enough to say, well, we demand you
I mean,
resign
our
'cause we're in the
electoral
streets.
college
But
used
that-
bought.
Well, that's
but,
our
yeah.
country. That's
Yeah.
not what happened with France.
Right.
But the point is, let me explain what this tax that they're demanding be reinstated is in these riots and these protests. The tax was that anyone who had more than $1.3 million would
Okay.
get taxed on it. I'm not talking about income. I'm talking about wealth. So I'm saying if
In the
you're
bank.
in the bank, your jewelry,
Your total-
your
oh.
pr- your- yeah, exactly.
Your property.
Your TV, your car,
well, your property,
jewelry.
I mean-
Not just property, but I'm saying all property.
But-
Anything
but-
you own,
but
the government would appraise and say, we think you're worth blank amount, and we're going to tax you year over year on the same thing. Now, in America, we would say that's a tax that we would never really accept.
I disagree with that just for the mere fact that if you
Disagree with what?
Google taxing the 1 point, so I've Googled myself before. And there, because I've done
we
it.
all should.
We all should.
Right now.
But like, I've Googled myself
Maryssa
before,
Smith.
and there is like a website that like estimates my worth at like $2 million, and I'm like, have you seen my bank account?
Well,
where'd you get this from?
Well, celebrity net worth is it's a fake algorithm. It literally just checks how many Google searches you have. It doesn't actually. It's not a real net worth. It's not like the government.
No, but I'm saying like, what if they were like
They think
going
I'm rich
to like,
too. Like it's not
what if they were going to
New
tax
rich.
me based on
random website?
Like I made
That's
a
not the
million.
issue.
I made a
That's
million.
changing
I
the
spent a
subject.
million.
But like they like, well, this is your estimated like
right, but
possible
that website
worth.
isn't. I'm agreeing that it's weird,
But like I'm just saying, like I would
but that
not.
website is not actually investigating your worth. But the point is, most people would say, well, if you're talking about saying that if you happen to have one piece of property and you don't have an income, you're paying taxes on it year after year after year, and it's whittling down. That's why it was such an unpopular tax. The tax it got replaced with was a property tax. So they're saying instead of taxing you on all your worth every year, we're only going to tax you on worldwide property, but year over year. So you're still being taxed every year over and over again on the same thing without making more money on it. But the thing is, the fact that they're demanding that
that's what
tax come
property
back.
tax is.
Right. They're saying, but because property is something you make money on. So it makes sense.
No.
Property in general is
No.
something you make money on because it goes up in value.
No, it may not.
Well,
It can go down.
It can.
Like property
Very-
can
in-
depreciate.
In fact, it's one of the most vital.
Volatile
Assets.
assets.
Absolutely.
But the point is, there is still a property tax, a
Sure.
year-over-year property
and
tax.
every poor person pays
Yeah.
property tax. So
Right.
what's the point?
No,
What
no,
were you saying?
you're not. What I'm saying is the tax of taxing all your property, your jewelry, your clothes, everything,
That
was
was
replaced
with a
just
property.
taxing you for how much money you have in property year over year.
Which I don't think the amount of money you have
And
in jewelry,
that-
even though that's a way to hide your shit, I actually don't think that that's very fair because it
To tax
only
you for your jewelry.
but because it only creates a vacuum for people to lie. You
That-
have to think about the way in which it actually functions. If I were to try to protect my assets, I can't protect my house. But I will say my jewelry.
I got stolen.
It's got stolen.
The
Insurance
point-
fraud.
but the
I
point
went
is,
to a
that's exactly
bar
what these-
and my watch was
Oh.
stolen.
But these
Everybody steals my
protests-
shit.
The protests are one of the main things they're demanding is to bring back that tax, where you're taxing people with 1.3 million for everything they own year over year.
Because jewelry
one of
has
the-
always been a way to hide your wealth.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
In
one
congruent.
of the
Sure,
things that I
perhaps.
think is interesting about this protest, though, is that the police are actually threatening to join in with the protesters
they're owed
because
so much money.
they
Ah.
are owed which
Which I don't know much
There's
about.
like almost like 20 million hours worth of overtime
It gave
that
me a
the
little hard on to
police
see
Right.
that.
But
that
let me
have
ask-
not been
story.
paid
Now
for.
I get that the instinct of that is to be 100% positive, but let me ask you an
Oh
honest
no, I don't
question.
think it's 100% positive.
But I'm asking an honest question: Are we just assuming that this money exists to pay these people, and the government is just evilly keeping it from them, or is this really a case of people not being able to accept the world is changing and wanting it to be a person's fault?
I
So
think that
what
if
are
you have a
expecting-
contract with your government as a government employee, and
amount of
if
time that you
you
work.
work 40 hours, you get a salary, and if you work
100%.
anything over 40 hours, you get time and a half.
100%.
Yeah,
They need to have that in their budget that you
I'm not
get time
talking
and a
about the-
half.
They're
I'm not
not
talking about the
medieval
police.
soldiers.
I'm not talking about the police. I'm talking about
you can't
the
just
entire population.
No, we're talking about, and correct me if I'm wrong, we just brought up the fact that the police are demanding.
that they get
Right.
paid their overtime because
So-
they're owed like
so
over
this is what
20
happens.
million hours
if
of overtime.
the police have to fight protesters 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for however many weeks.
This started on
And there's some
November the
issue.
15th.
Right.
Oh, there's some issue with pay, overtime, blah, 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 because the system is freaking out and they can't figure out how to pay given their fucking current,
Nobody
bank of
works
wealth,
overtime.
and they can't figure out their
pay
shit.
because of the protests.
Right.
That's why the overtime
right.
existed.
But the protests are civilization. The protests are the country.
Right.
And the police are there to be there to protect and serve and to whatever they
Society
do.
from the protesters.
So let me say, if they are working overtime, which they have to,
Right. They have
And if they're in strenuous conditions where
Sure.
they're being
Which they are.
pummeled and no bathroom breaks and the employee bullshit along with the fact of like war conditions.
What I'm asking.
What I'm going to finish and say is that the government then has to decide that these employees, which I've made a civilized contract with, are doing overtime this amount of hours. They need these amount of things. And so what I need to decide is how do I budget
To pay
this
them.
protest and
This
whether
is a
or not
contract.
Okay, well, can I?
no, because I'm not done. Whether or not the issue that's being protested is economically worth what's happening. And if you do not consider the police that need their overtime and need their humane allowed employee rights that was already agreed upon.
Because
then-
they're in unions.
Because at the end of the day, all of these protests and all of these issues and all of these things boil down to brass tacks. So the fact that police have to defend and spend economic, resources to defend this issue has to be then
paid for.
paid for. And if you don't think it should be paid for, then maybe the issue should be resolved economically.
Okay, the question I had was, what if it can't be? What if the protesters want something that is not mathematically
It's
viable?
a bipartisan issue. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but
No, I'm
you
asking
still.
I'm asking the question.
But
what
they
if the
don't have a contract with the protesters. They have a contract with the
I'm
police.
Not, I know, but I don't
They have
want to
a
talk about the
union
police. I wanna
with
talk
the
about
police.
protests. I know, but I want to talk about the
But
protests.
police are going to become protesters.
I know, but I want
So
to
what
ask a
you're-
question about the
what-
But you're
protests.
what it sounds-
doubling the protesters.
I know, but I want to ask a question about the protests, not the police part.
No, but what it sounds like your question is if they're not willing to give in to the issue,
What do you
No,
do next?
that's
then
not
what
the
do you
question.
do? Then what
Okay,
do you
so
do
what is
economically?
exactly your
You're
question?
saying they're
Dave?
not able to give in
What
to
if
the issue.
What if the protest is literally asking something that's impossible, and so they can't end the protest?
Why is it impossible?
But
Why
like,
is
didn't
this
we
issue
already
impossible?
establish
That's
that
what I'm
the
asking.
that
But
the
is it impossible? You think it's impossible?
but
I'm
here's
asking
the thing
if.
though.
No, I'm
so,
asking
is
you if you think
so
it's
I'm
impossible.
asking
It might be.
everyone.
It
I'm
might
asking.
be.
I'm asking everyone. Is that if you said that this new tax law was put in place after Macron was elected, and so
Right.
this new tax law was put in place in 2017, but previously, let's say 2015, that tax law was already in place. So then how is it not feasible that they can reinstate it when they
Because it's
already
not-
have
Because there's a lot more things they're demanding. They're demanding increase in minimum wage. They're demanding things that may or may not be possible. But the question was, I was like, why can't we even acknowledge the idea that it's possible for someone to protest against something that they can't get? Why can't we even acknowledge
But
that?
they're
It's
the
very
French.
possible.
They just
Dramatically
cut
possible.
people's heads
No,
off when they don't
I'm
get
sorry.
their
That's
shit.
what I was
Why-
asking.
But okay, well that's good, a good clarification because that feels like an obscene question for me because mostly people on any side of any issue protest something impossible that they never get met. So
But you
it's not-
compromise.
but it's not impossible.
No, what I'm asking though is, it of course is. I'm not saying I know because I don't know the math of the French government
yeah.
and the economy. I think it's possible that they could be. Look, France has for many years been known as a place that's very easy to get people to protest. It's famous even among liberals as the place that a
We
riot
have
can
the
happen any
Statue of
moment.
Liberty because
Yeah, it's a place that's known for.
Vive la France.
But France is, especially the last few decades, has just been known as a place where a protest can happen at the drop of a hat. It can just they're easily
gorgeous at
they're
it.
easily inflamed people.
no,
It
well,
could be a
what
good
you would
thing.
say
It's all the
enormously
cheese.
inflamed,
It could be a
or
good
you
thing.
would say,
It's
or
the
you would say
lactose
they're
from the
they're-
cheese.
I'm not
they're-
saying it's negative.
that
I'm
they're
saying,
liberal, and I don't mean that in a liberal conservative American way. I mean liberal as in free to express their opinion, and so that's a beautiful.
But what
thing.
I'm talking about is austerity measures that I think a lot of people see as a punishment by government, that government sees as something that's going to ensure survival. The same thing happened in Greece. People were angry in Greece about austerity measures that were 100% impossible to deny. They wanted the exact same benefits that they had before on a country that was beyond bankrupt. And some things are not possible. Sometimes we see things that it looks like a changing economy and simply a changing worldscape is something that people just want to
But
not
why
acknowledge and make it a politician's fault.
But
It
like
has to
as
be
a
three-dimensional.
protester, if you're a man on the street and you've been working for 20 years, like you are paying your taxes, you are doing everything as a citizen that you're supposed to do.
Right.
Why is it your concern that all of a sudden the government realizes that they have been keeping shitty books for 20 years and then they can no longer
But you're
sustain
the
these
assumption-
things that they have claimed
That's
that you are entitled to?
That's exactly what I'm referring to. You're assuming that this cannot possibly be real. It has to be about bookkeeping. It has to be about someone made a mistake. And I'm saying it's possible that the changing economy has simply made it a world where people aren't
But
going
that
to
is
have as
not
much as they
the
have.
agreement
But you're
that the
saying this is a
government-
bookkeeping thing.
But
That's
how
exactly
is
what
how
I'm
is
saying. That it's
every
not
aspect
always-
of the economy not a bookkeeping
bookkeeping thing.
issue?
Because
Yeah.
a bookkeeping issue implies that if someone else was doing the books differently,
So
this
the
wouldn't be a
government
problem.
No.
wasn't stealing from their people.
Exactly. You're saying that it has to be a person who's making this happen, that it can't just be the confluence of factors of the changing economy and the changing world we live in. We have there are certain things that are changing just in terms of what's automated, what's not. Certain jobs exist and certain don't. So the idea that the only reason that people could be out of work is because some politician is doing something wrong, and not that we have a world where we're eventually going to have to just have universal income because jobs are going to go down in general because there's going to be less jobs to do. That's what I'm talking. That's the fallacy. I'm
Okay,
talking about.
Tesla.
I see
no.
what you're saying, but like, does that mean that in universal income, then we have to revert to a class system?
No, not doesn't have a universal
I mean,
income.
we
doesn't
already
mean
have a class system.
You don't need
Let's
to have
acknowledge
an
that.
enforced class system to have universal income. I'm talking about the long-term effects of the changing economy and technology. Eventually, there will be less and less manual labor work that can be done. And like in Star Trek, you're going to have to simply take care of the poor people and find new ways of having a
But
civilization.
that's already a class system because the people
that's-
that have
Yes.
abilities that can still work regular jobs are going to make over the allotted stipend that you're going to give to poor people that don't have any marketable skills.
Well, there's poor people in every class system now. It's not like we're going to eliminate.
yeah, but like we
this
don't.
would be a
We're
world where
not.
Poverty was no
we're
longer
not
something
saying
that killed you.
that like as a whole. Let's say okay, we have poor people that don't have marketable skills. They get welfare. They might get some food stamps or something like that if they sign up for it, and if they aren't too proud to sign up for it, because there's an inordinate amount of people that are due social nets that they don't actually take because they're too proud to take them. So like we're going to say that like we're going to give everybody a particular salary. However, if you have skills and things that are needed at this time, you're going to get your stipend and you're also going to get your salary.
Yeah, good. That's a great system.
Yeah, that's a good system.
That's a great system. Why are we even complaining about that?
Right now, if you have no skills,
That's a
then
much
you don't
better
have
system.
a
I wanna hear-
job.
I
That's
wanna
a
hear what
substantially
Elon
better
has to say
system
about
than the one we
that.
have.
Go ahead, Elon. What do you have to say about
Yeah,
that?
I think a universal income is a good thing because right now the system you're talking about is people either
What
are
does universal income look like? Because I've never heard that term.
So like let's just say hypothetically
I'm sorry, I
every
needed to know.
citizen of the United States gets $20,000 a
Fuck
year.
that. That's
We're talking about-
communism.
Well,
Exactly.
we're talking about a different level of technology. We're talking about a level of technology where you would have that's considered an inevitable point in our technological future if we make it to that, where there'll be substantially less jobs, but, there'll be more of
But
an
we're
ability
not
to take care
there
of people.
yet. And currently, I need my legislators to make my life fucking better before I die in probably 20 years at the most.
Right, but
So the question is,
But that
what
was
am I
only-
fucking dealing with right now? We are in an
a lack of resource,
apocalyptic
a change of resources. Yes, that's
issues
what we're
right
talking
now.
about.
Okay, my great grandmother voted in hopes to make my life better. At this point, I'm at the point where I understand the full fucking world.
You're
that I'm
voting
just
to
trying
make your
to
own
my
life
own
better.
life better, and the kids that I foster, who I know won't have parents, better.
Right.
Okay, so wait, I don't want to cut off Elon.
No, what I was saying was if the current situation today is either if you're poor, you're on welfare, or you're too proud to take it and you just make no money. Universal income in the future is like we have all this new wealth, but there's certain jobs that just don't exist anymore. Instead of getting this pittance, which is welfare or nothing, everybody gets a livable amount.
But how is the universe? The universal amount is going to be a pittance. The universal amount is going to be a pittance.
How do you
so
know
like
that?
like
Wait. What you don't?
I
how do you
know,
that?
but this is on a point. This is
talking
on a
about the
real
distant
point.
future.
This is what happens when you travel and you go around the world. You are told, I get a zillion whatevers for this country
Lira.
for $1.
Right.
Not lira anymore. We're far behind Europe. But lira, anyway.
lira is pretty bad now, but
the point is that you go to a different country and you say, I get a zillion of these denominations for my dollar. But what happens is you go to buy milk and it's a zillion plus 3 to buy milk, and then you realize that fucking that's how much I paid at home. Like your quality of life. So here's my real point. If you elevate everyone to a living salary, how does that change the prices of what's available to
We're
them?
talking about a
But
distant future. With
this
a
is
different
not
economy.
even. I don't even think it's
We're not-
living
you're-
salary.
I want to live in Star
we're-
Trek.
We're not.
I'm currently
I
living
know,
in
but
a
that's-
place where I don't have rights as a woman, as a gay woman. I don't have any rights. So I'm looking for legislation based on like I need health insurance. My health insurance is about to end in February. I'm in survival mode, and that's the unfortunate reality that we have to base our legislation on. It's why do we not have Medicaid for all? Why do we not have marriage equality? We do have marriage equality for all. Why is it still being fought?
It is?
It is.
Yeah.
In America?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, who are these assholes trying to fight it?
Republicans.
All right, well, your listeners can probably give you some links.
That sucks. I mean, my point wasn't that. Well, I mean, I was, of course, in favor of taking care of poor people. That's universal
but like
income
here's the
is-
thing: is that like let's
poor
say that
people?
if we go and we say
of
that the
course.
minimum wage
You
is,
already
I'm
have
going to give a
Medicaid and
hypothetical. If we say the minimum wage is $10 an hour, and we decide that everybody gets this minimum wage of $10
So
an
what do you want
hour
instead of it? What would you want instead of that in this future where there aren't those jobs? Don't you want people to get taken
No,
care
what
of?
I would like is for the companies to behave as if they're not human and legislatively to not be treated as if they are gold. What is corporate welfare, which is coming into Queens with Amazon? I would like corporate welfare, which is a phrase that needs to be spread, to be understood. We need to stop giving extra. Forget about like, you're gonna give extra. This is.
You're going to bring 7,000 jobs into the neighborhood.
This is the worry.
So like
the worry
now you
is,
get the tax
worry
break.
is because you employ a bunch of people, you have no taxes. Walmart has no allowed federal taxes. That's fucking insane.
Like, why should someone working in Walmart pay more percentage of their actual income than Walmart, the actual company, does?
The majority of Walmart employers are on
welfare
federal income,
and
so
they
they're
give them
feeding
the
off-
packets
and then the full and
to
Dave
actually
is-
get on welfare.
and
Okay,
Dave
but
is-
so you guys are
is
talking about
tuned out.
the problem is there's an unfair distribution of the wealth, right? The very wealthy companies or people control everything,
Right.
and everybody else has very little. In this distant future, it's a distribution of the wealth where
Yeah, but
it's
that's
much
not.
more equal
That's
to
not
people.
going to be equal. It's
No,
not.
until
It's
you
there's
have
going to be a
corporate-
baseline, and
until
then
you stop.
people that have particular skills are going to make more than that. And if it doesn't work that
Yeah,
way,
but
then
imagine
you're
at
talking
that
about
baseline where you have
communism
all your
and-
health needs taken care of. You have money that you could live by.
But your
But, like,
ability
is-
to buy milk has gone up. Your ability. So if everyone has $20,000
In this future, cows don't exist,
okay, and they're farts.
and if they do, they get $20,000 a year. So it's a beautiful place.
But like
Elon's
$20,000
good on the
does
humor relief.
absolutely nothing. But like
the
we're
point
gonna have
is
to start.
If everyone gets $20,000, everyone starts at zero. Do you? This is my only point. Is that if everyone has $20,000, milk will be 20,000. Like just
Maybe milk is just a right that everyone you could just take your milk.
okay, oat milk, whatever.
Yeah, oat milk. That stuff's creamy. It's thick. It's
so,
not bad.
It's so good if you get it processed and add with cornstarch.
So Dave, The
Who's
Trump
tuned out?
Foundation is being shut down. Why?
Shocking illegality, because in a normal society, this would be one of the worst scandals that would destroy anyone who ever met this person.
Yeah, we don't give a fuck.
But Trump, because it's baked in that they like corruption, it's just okay. So Trump, here's the thing, he was already doing this. Everyone knew he was doing this when he was running for president, and no one cared. Now that the courts are acknowledging it, it's a story again, but he was taking money that people believed they were donating to a charity and then paying his debts with them, or buying things for himself that he liked, like paintings of himself, and putting it up in his own restaurants for free. This was the most simple example of a corrupt charity. Once again, let's say those words again. A corrupt charity that this man
it
was
also
stealing
had
from.
Trump
And the
in the title.
repercussions of these violators, these criminals, these federal criminals, what are the repercussions?
They have to dissolve their charity with a court supervision.
And then
Well, by the way,
They can't be on
wanted to
the
dissolve it
board for
that's
themselves.
right,
10
Marissa.
years.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I recently read in the most recent
Well, the
report,
kids can't be on the
1 year.
board for the kids can't be on the board for 1 year.
1
Our
year.
president-
They can't be on a board for 1 year.
It also,
But how
it
are
might
they
be
going to
harder
get all
for
the
them to get on one.
dividends?
It might be harder for them to get on one now that everyone's going to
I
think
want
we can't
those
have you on your
cuffs.
board because we're going to look like criminals. But yeah, it's hilarious that this is not. Well, because everything that he does would be the biggest story. But stealing from a charity really should be the kind of story that ends your career politically.
Yum, 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 yum. But we're way past that, and that's why we live in a place where we don't understand reality at all, and we kind of float
Because people believe in
above.
astrologists,
And-
exactly.
And
You start believing in
fucking
conspiracy.
Susan Miller is the reason
That we're all centered.
fucked.
The crazy thing about all of this is that this is the Trump Foundation charity, right?
Right.
This huge lawsuit against them, all this bad publicity, and yet who gets away scot-free? Tiffany Trump.
Yep.
Oh.
Just because he doesn't
She's
love her,
not
doesn't let her
favored
do
enough
anything.
to be on
Just
anything.
because she was never directly sexually molested by her dad.
We don't.
Or,
we
don't
or,
know
or,
directly.
or,
We don't
or
know
she's
for a
not,
fact that he
she's not
touched
willing.
Eric.
She's not willing
Yeah.
We
to
don't know
accept
that Eric
it.
was
She's
touched.
not
She's
willing,
not hot enough
she's
for
not-
him to make it obvious.
She's not willing to accept.
I think I'll be perfectly honest. I think Barron's going to jail. I think everything is in Barron's name.
He's a child.
I think they
he's
put
the same age as the kid I watched.
knowing Trump and his
an ad
kids,
for.
I think they put everything in Barron's
No.
name. And
Barron
they're-
is legally an adult in Guatemala.
Yeah.
No.
Under
Barron
some
has-
laws.
No,
Barron
no,
is the
no.
CEO of 40 companies in the Cayman Islands right now.
You know, unfortunately,
to
what
go
I
under.
think happened within the first year and a half to almost 2 years of Trump's administration is we gave sympathy to Melania, and then finally she had a couple of moments of interview. And
I
then-
don't care, do you?
And after the I don't care to
She
you.
married Trump. Of course she's a monster.
Right. But no, because we created this, and I think we played into what they wanted us to have as truth. We played into the idea that she was just an international bride who was looking for money and was a model and took an advantage to
I never
living-
gave her this pass.
She was in survival mode, and she really hates him. That, and I will tell you from experience, from memory, that's how the public played her for at least a year and a half. It was she's trapped.
Well, we
She
project.
doesn't really. We projected
project
it
our
all.
morality
We
onto
we
her.
want to think that she's a good enough person to feel
you
trapped.
see that when you see the writers and all these guys that we all know that write for the Colbert Report and write for the Daily Show and write for all that stuff. It was untouchable. It was like Trump's a moron, but we don't know much about Melania, and honestly, we can tell that
We did
maybe-
the same
can't
thing with Ivanka.
understand what she's saying.
We projected morality onto Ivanka
Oh,
too,
and-
simply
and-
by
and-
being women who didn't say horrible things publicly. We thought, well, they must be better
Well,
just by having vaginas.
She had a gay
they
friend.
must be decent
no,
human
she
beings.
had a gay friend, and that's why Trump was for gays.
And to her credit, like I was a big watcher of The Apprentice, all seasons, regular and celebrity.
Really?
And
Are
Ivanka
you
was
the only one within New York
it was
born and
it was
raised?
number one in the ratings in its first season, and after that, I just disregarded it. She was very level-headed on The Apprentice.
Oh, yeah.
Eric took a while to get started, and Donald Jr. also. They were not good for TV at
Dawn
first.
was a
Was there
mess.
sex on
They got
that?
better near the
Terrible.
end.
I just want to know, was there sex on that show? I never watched
No.
it. Was
No
there
sex appeal
between,
whatsoever.
No. Between the siblings, was there sex acts that happened? Because I feel like that's what that
Like
was.
deleted scenes.
You gotta, you
Yeah.
gotta
They
stop serving
save
alcohol
all
at
of
these
that
shows.
for Papa.
Don't
so now,
stop
Elon,
Dave, I will pummel you.
I know.
Okay.
what's going on with nunchucks right now?
I was going to say the one thing about Trump is that this is actually true. I lost a lot of respect for my dad because he told me he loved Trump, and that was in 2006. I'm not even kidding. It really happened. The nunchucks thing, nunchucks
I
are
asked
legal again.
Elon.
Did you?
That's right. I brought
You were
up this
looking at me.
story in our little group chat because I thought it would be a fun, lighthearted
Are
story.
we in a group chat?
Did you even check the group chat? You can see who
Well,
reads it. I never saw your
She
face.
doesn't because she's on a text, and I think there was a couple of topics that I
Thank
forgot to
God.
forward
Thank
over.
God.
Because I forwarded as much as I could,
It
and
would
then
give me a skin rash
Oh,
if I was
is that
on
why
this
Beth
group
is
text.
woefully unprepared?
Yeah, I guess I'm fucking.
I'm just
So now what's going on with the
No,
nunchucks?
you're not.
Okay, so nunchucks have been outlawed in New York State to own since the 60s or 70s. I don't know.
Yeah, like
70s, yeah.
70s. Yeah, it's almost
They were
40
even
years.
illegal to be in movies in England. You couldn't even show a movie where someone was using them. That's how weird the 1970s hated nunchucks. Go on.
It's wild. Anyway, this one guy who was like a nunchuck enthusiast, became a
Before
lawyer
machine guns.
in the 90s and decided to he set up his whole life, it seems, towards
To fight this
eventually
nunchuck thing.
having a lawsuit against the state to say, hey, these should be legal. It's a self-defense item, just like anything else that's protected by the Second Amendment. And so why can't I just have nunchucks, even if it's in my own home or whatever?
Wouldn't it be hilarious if it turns out he doesn't know how to use them?
I really want to see a video of him doing
He's
his
never
thing.
actually done
And he
them.
just hits himself in the face the
He's-
whole
he's so-
I just
time.
appreciate them.
He's so law-abiding that he never got to try them out for 30 years.
Yeah, that actually really.
He just assumed he'd be good at it.
It's the funniest thing that how could it be illegal? It's just two sticks with a rope in between them.
Okay, it's like weed enthusiasts who say I'm a weed enthusiast. There's a threshold to not want to come out as legalizing marijuana because you're admitting that you have experience with an illegal substance. So there's a threshold there where he's just like, nunchucks, never touch them.
Right.
But
It's
I bet they'd be good in my hand.
Yeah, it's almost like with gay marriage. There are people who would be like, I don't want to come out and say I'm for that
Just
because
saying.
people will think,
I'm
why do I?
I'm just
Right.
Yeah,
saying
why would
the
people think I
if
care
the
about this issue?
scissors fit.
Yeah, it's. No, it's. I never understood that weird. In England, you couldn't. They banned Bruce Lee movies because there was nunchuck use. What is this obsession with nunchucks?
I
You're
think
allowed
they're just
to own knives.
anti-Asian.
All right,
Yeah,
you know
is
what?
it racist?
To own
I think it's
knives.
racist. I think it's really anti-Asian.
No,
But
if that was the reason, I would applaud it. But it's not.
I have this great bit about nunchucks, which always gets groans because it's too
Oh,
disgusting.
tell us about
No, I
it.
can't. It's too
I'm
gross.
so
But
excited.
it
No,
never
no.
works, and I feel like maybe the
I'll
band.
give you a left
Go on.
shoulder massage if you
Go
tell us
on.
to. Yeah, do
All
it.
right. So anyway, the gist of it is that the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles wear different color bandanas because that's a thing in the gay community to wear different color handkerchiefs to say what kind of gay stuff you're into. That is a thing.
Yeah.
And so,
I
for
never heard
example,
of it.
Michelangelo wears orange, which means anything goes, and he is the party dude,
Yeah.
so it fits,
Is
true.
he into pizza the most?
of course. And that explains why his weapon is two wooden dildos attached by a chain.
Oh.
That
And
does
that's
make
why
sense.
the leader is named Splinter, because sometimes you have an accident.
Oh
Nice.
my
there you go.
So it's very gross, but I think
Oh, I applaud
Logically, it
that.
makes
No,
sense.
I'm into
But yeah,
that.
that was like an 80s, 90s
I just have
thing
to
where
say,
they wore
like,
bandanas different colors.
the
Yeah.
most disturbing thing about Splinter and the most accurate thing about your joke is that they don't buff down the edges. Like, make
Yes,
it
they-
round.
they-
Make it
They're
round.
make
supposed
it
to.
round, it
Make
goes
it-
down easy.
Guys, we have
So-
got to get going.
I'm going to throw one more topic in,
Oh,
the
good.
gauntlet before we head out, though. So, Dave, what is going on with the Russians and the Internet Research Agency?
Yeah, Dave, what's going
They-
on with that?
Well, we found out that a lot of people may have guessed they targeted specifically Black Americans, not just to get them to not like Hillary, but just in general to get them they weren't really trying to get them to vote for Trump. They were just trying to get them not
to vote at all.
But
yeah.
also they were also trying to take advantage of Black people to make them appear scarier to white people. They were trying to make it sound as if every Black person who believes in Black Lives Matter is this militant, violent monster. So they really did concentrate specifically on the black population because they felt that was how they could inflame people. And it really, I just don't know, where is the fucking outrage?
Well,
I will say this is that like I can't speak for everyone in my community, but I will say that
sorry. Marissa's black. Dave.
That's Dave's job. He's supposed to tell
We already
them.
said it this episode.
We said it last episode.
Or next episode.
I snuck it in.
But what I'm like most proud about is that like seriously like 90% of black women still voted for Hillary. So like the Russians tried their best efforts. They spent a lot of money.
And it only worked on men?
And
well, you said 90% of black women voted for Hillary of the ones who voted. The whole point was they suppressed the vote. So there were less. It wasn't a matter of getting them to vote for Trump. It was about getting them not to vote. And yes, Hillary had less black people voting for her than anyone in decades. So it did work. It worked very well.
But
Hillary
I don't
had a
necessarily
had
know
less of the
that
black vote than any
I don't know that
Democrat
was a
in
Russian
many, many
thing
years.
as much as the fact that I feel that there were some black people that felt like Hillary with the super predators.
That was from fucking Russians. That was part of the propaganda campaign. The idea that super predators started meaning black people 20 years later.
What happened there was precedent to that because the Clinton administration didn't do their job in the 90s. They were too fucking ball heavy and they couldn't shave their fucking balls, sack up and fucking make it for the community that supported them in Harlem, New York, and the black community and their saxophone fucking bullshit. And they sat there and were pieces of shit, and the Russians played on that to make sure that it happened. Because they played on decades worth of feeling like, I'll tell you one quick situation. I remember, so background, born and raised New Yorker, living in New York. We are, during the Obama administration, I can't tell you what year. And I am walking
2008
down.
to 2016.
Good. I appreciate
Don't
you.
assume.
I'm walking down 54th Street or some nonsense in the middle of Midtown. And I get some fucking security guard, some Secret Service person stopping me from walking down the street. And I'm like, fuck you, I have my feelings. And it turns out Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton are walking from a building to their Uber or whatever the fuck. And there's a crowd that forms. And I remember this black guy, and this is before Obama was inaugurated. And it was this guy screams, "Our first black president," coming from a black guy. And that helped me frame. They played for the first time in American history the black community. He played the saxophone. She was liberal. They played on all that shit. And that's why I don't trust her.
Because this guy, wait, so this guy liking Bill made you hate them? This black guy saying, I identify with him, made you...
Is that what you took from what I just said?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were saying
wrong.
that this guy calling him the first black president, which
No.
of course is a black man.
What I would
using
say,
a term of
as
endearment,
someone
not
who's
literal.
only 30-something, my experience of the Bill Clinton administration was from a child's perspective. And a person who was at least 15 years older than me referred to him as the first black president, which was a phrase that I never experienced because I was too young.
Oh, okay.
And I learned that before there was ever Obama, there was the first black president, which was a phrase from the black community. Because he was the first one to placate to that community. And they did a horrible job because of said... What are we
super
talking
predators.
about? Super predators. And they had a chance within Hillary Clinton because she is amazing.
She could have
She's amazing.
redeemed everything.
I will talk about her. She's the most qualified, male or female,
that we've ever had running.
ever. But I
in the
still don't
history
trust
of the-
her.
yeah.
And they played off
You
the
just
fact.
said that she treated the black community like shit. Why do you love her?
That's right. I didn't say I love her. I said she's the most qualified that we've ever had. And that speaks to our history. I'll let that silence
I'd like to ask a question about
Please,
this issue.
Yes,
Okay, so let's say, so the Russian agency is putting out all these memes and everything on Facebook, fake accounts, everything to rile up, whether it's the black community or white people against the black community.
Right.
Right? Now, let's say they put out these memes that say, hey, Hillary Clinton, in the 90s, the Clintons, they did all this, whatever, super predator, yada, yada, yada.
Kevin Hart
It's
shit.
something she said once, yes.
Right,
She
so she
used
said
the term
this.
super predator to refer to people who use children to commit crimes.
Or let's take
And then 20
another
years
point
later,
of view, which
it was
is...
decided in a meme that it meant black people. Go on.
Okay, so let's look at a different aspect.
It meant that then.
Based
Okay.
on what?
Based on exactly what it fucking meant. It meant that you were putting people in jail based on statistically what was not said then, but what was told, that you were to search any black man, any person that looks suspicious.
It was
That's
kind of
certain-
like a
Take them
three
Stop
in.
and
search
frisk
thing.
and super predators are not related.
Oh my! This is a whole different.
But you're referring to stop and frisk now. I'm saying the term super
no.
predator was a term that was used
Stop
at the
and
What
time.
she's
frisk.
saying is that in a Venn diagram, there's an overlap.
And stop and frisk is
And
only a
when
new
this-
age part of it. We're
Elon,
talking
yeah.
early
Side-
90s.
Side note,
I'm
but
sorry.
Venn diagram is that Italian guy that you went out with in high
That was Vinny
Queen.
Diagramo.
Yeah,
Hey.
school. Okay, so let's look at something that's less controversial. Okay, so there are memes that will say pro, like the Black Lives Matter movement. The police are irresponsible and extra aggressive towards black people, and that's an issue in America. And these memes were started by Russia, a lot of them. They were shared by a lot of black people in America who didn't know that these were started by Russia. It was just, I agree with the point, right? So if you agree with the point, and now you find out, well, Russia actually originated that, are you like, is there a problem that you're sharing something where the messenger has bad motives, or are you still like, well,
You
I
should
still agree with
take
the
it into
point?
consideration.
So, here's the thing with that is that all of because, I've read several articles about it. Not that I've read the most about it or I've done the most research. I'm going to admit that I haven't. But for, the ones that had the most imprints that they're talking about in all of these articles, I was never getting those memes or articles or whatever from black people. I was kind of seeing I guess the counter of those memes from white people. So if you said oh, well, black people found the cure for cancer, but the government isn't letting them share it.
Yeah.
Then I would see a meme from all of my right friends that are black people are the reason why there's cancer and the government won't stop it because they'll ask for more welfare.
Which is a beautiful place to live in. It's actually a really hard thing to carry, but to live in a place of two worlds gives you perspective of the way people propaganda some bullshit. And so Dave and Marissa, who are the hosts of this show, send out to us, Elon and us, me.
Yeah, you're multiple
Yeah.
people.
I am sometimes.
We
I am
are.
gender fluid.
We're
so
all multiple people.
I'm gender fluid. But
She's Beth and Ben.
But what I would say is that there are some, and I will wrap it up. There are some ideas, and I've lost my thought because everyone signaled in this room some weird shit, and I just completely forgot.
So we're going to wrap it up. Before we go, Beth and Elon, just tell everybody where they can find you on social media, what gigs you have coming up next.
Okay.
Beth, I'll start with you.
Sure. Here it goes. If you're interested in just loving people based on who they are, and you're not interested in arguing with me based on some nonsense, you can find me at either at We Choose Love on Instagram or at Summon the Goats on Instagram, and both of those and the secondary are where you can find my comedy. And the primary, is where you can find me just trying to spread a little bit of love in a very dark place.
Elon.
All right, you can find me on Instagram at Elonstagram. That's ELON Stagram, and I'm on Twitter at Elon, you so crazy. That's YOU, so crazy. People say you should have the same like social media handle for everything, but I don't care.
Not when you got gold like that to deal with.
It's so funny. How could
Fuck them!
Yeah. Also, if you're one of the British listeners who is turned on by the theme song, I'm going to be in England next week. You can see me at Angel Comedy on December 27th and at Camden Comedy Club on December 28th. And cheerio to you guys. So thank you.
Dave Cyrus.
Dave Cyrus, SARUS. You can look it up. It's all there.
You can follow me on Twitter at Maryssa Smith. You can follow this show on Twitter at at Blamestorming. If you enjoy the show, please rate and review us. If you did not enjoy the show, we're cereal.
If you didn't enjoy the show, ignore this.
Ignore everything that I said.
If you liked it, put your penis on it or vagina.
Put your comments on it like it was a penis or a vagina. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Have a happy New Year, guys. This is the last show of our year. So we love you.
Forget the religious denomination and just love each other.
Review us if you like us. If you don't, then don't. Okay, bye.